13, 14 years ago when my betrayal experience happened. I mean, I will say the betrayal world maybe wasn't as big as it is today. There's so much out there now, and there's so many programs. And I remember when I was Googling for help, there really wasn't that much. There were the few books, but those again, of course, were written in the model that the man was the cheater. So I was pretty alone in that sense. So yeah.
Partner betrayal is disorienting, heartbreaking, and results in absolute confusion for the betrayed partner. You worry that nothing in your life was real, and you fear that you will never be able to trust your spouse or yourself again. Well, welcome to the Rebuilding Trust podcast with Carol the Coach. I'm Carol Jurgensen Sheets, aka Carol the Coach, and what I can promise is that when you listen to my podcast, you'll begin to believe that there is hope. We will be hearing from experts all over the world who specialize in problematic sexual behavior, sex addiction, and infidelity. Together, we will be asking them the hard questions about how you both can rebuild safety, find strengths, grieve and mourn what you had, what you never had, and what you fear you will never find again. The truth is that rebuilding trust is possible, and I am going to show you the steps to working together to build a whole new marriage based on the honesty, authenticity, and transparency that your marriage deserves. Rebuilding Trust with Carol the Coach.
You know, I'm so happy to be with you every single week to either discuss concepts and theory, feelings, thoughts, and to have excellent guests like I did today. Adam Nisenson is a pioneer in this field, and you're going to get to hear what it's like to be a male partner in a world where you're not encouraged to talk about it. I feel like, Adam, your theory, your work with clients has just blossomed or maybe even exploded. And I want to share with my listening audience how I think I was a part of that. May I?
Yeah, and you were a huge part. Go for it.
Okay. And it may be different than what you thought, because Adam and I have never talked about this.
No.
I was in a CSAT training, and for anybody who doesn't know what a CSAT is, it's a certified sex addictions therapist training. And I saw Adam's name, and I happened to supervise his wife. And so I said, "Hey, nice to see you. This is Carol Sheets, and I love your wife, Judith." And he didn't respond. And I had a feeling that he had not seen that chat come through. And I still don't remember. Did you respond to me during that training?
No, I don't think I saw it, or maybe I reached out to Judith and I was like, did Carol just text like message? Like I was just kind of, it was out of context because we were in a training, right? In a certification stuff, CE stuff. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember, but I do remember that's kind of what started it for
Yeah,
sure.
that was our first connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Adam has this incredibly creative part of him. And so he was emailing me to say, "Hey, what do you think? Do you think the field needs this? Or I'm a little bit interested in that." And he started talking about what it felt like from a previous relationship to have been betrayed by a woman. And so I said, "Hey, I would love to use that as a training for my early recovery couples empathy model training." That's IRCM. And so he and Judith came on to talk about
Right.
what that felt like for him. And that was really our first professional gig that we did together.
Yeah, but to be clear, Judith isn't the woman that cheated on me.
That's right.
I remarried. That the first marriage didn't work because of the betrayal.
Well, and I didn't know how open you were being about that. And so,
yeah, I'm super open. It's
okay.
in the book too, right? I talk in each chapter, so little
Yes,
pieces,
that's
but more
true.
about me and my experience, not about what my ex-wife did. That's her journey. That's her work. Yeah.
Yeah. You really had formulated some hypotheses based on that.
Yeah.
And you did some research and you said, you know what, Carol, I'd like I'd like to write a book. I'd like to create a model. I'd like to teach people about this. And how
Yeah.
long did it take you to get all that done?
It took it took about a year, but I was already doing stuff in pieces before that, right? Like it was there and it was right. And I was having clients that, men, I only work with men in my therapy practice. And it was interesting to me, like 6 months, a year or two, I'd have guys start to admit to me that they were cheated on or this happened, and I found that really interesting because I feel like most of my clients, we usually have a pretty deep, good, trusting connection, and for them to take that long. And so we would talk about that and the shame, like even
Mm-hmm.
shame for them to tell me. And then I would tell them, well, I know what you're talking about, and because I went through it too. And I realized, yeah, I hide it also. It's such like a scarlet letter. So all that started, and then Judith with you, and then talking with you, and then I kind of asked you permission. Should I write a book like that? That's
Mm-hmm.
kind of, and I knew I had it and I wanted to, and I knew it's where I wanted to go. So, but you know how it is in life, right? You have to hear something two or three times till yeah, I think I need to do that. So yeah.
Well, and I was so impressed because when you asked me, he's a very curious person, and he follows my second largest, most important coaching principle, and that is go in for the big ask. So he would be constantly asking me, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think about this? And literally, I think it was a year and a half later, everything was done. I mean,
Yeah,
I know,
it's a
yeah, and it's an incredible book. Will you tell our listening audience the name of your book?
sure. Actually, because I knew we were talking today, I have a copy here. Let's see the
Yeah.
shine. It's called A Man's Guide to Partner Betrayal. Right. And so I have been told it's the first book written for men to navigate partner betrayal. Most all of the books, as we know out there, and all the context talks about the man being the cheater. So that was the other part, is I wanted to write something that not only was from a man to men, but right, I had that experience, not only professionally, but personally. And I thought that was important. And I wanted to write something in a way that men would connect with, right? So I don't use fancy language. Carol, I've had so many guys tell me, I love you have bullet points in the book, right? And that's such a man thing, right? I bullet point all the time in everything I do. So yeah, I wanted to make something that kind of gave men something where they knew they weren't alone and they weren't crazy, and
Mm-hmm.
that their feelings were valid.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main part of, I think, the book, is just to help them navigate it, like the title says, kind of.
Well, it really has a twofold process. I've read the book and I loved the personal story, as well as I love the characteristics that you've seen in men that have had this experience, because as you
Um,
said, it's about shame, and women are pretty oriented, because it happens so much to women, to say, oh, he cheated on me. Oh, he was a sex addict. Oh, he
yeah,
had three affair
of course he
partners.
did. Yeah,
Yeah. And so there's shame around that, but there's not shame about talking about it. And that's what you found as you developed this model. And
yeah.
so, and in the book, you go into the model. So tell everybody the name of your model. I think the
Well,
men will love it.
I call it the MBT recovery model. So the term I coined is masculine betrayal trauma.
Uh huh.
Um, and I have 7 stages, and I'll tell you this, Carol, like you have so many great books out there, and you wrote the foreword to my book. One of the things I'm discovering as I'm getting into this, and it's only been, out, what are we, like September? This year's already going fast, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
The book's been out for 9 months, right? And I feel really blessed, and I see, it's just things are just really going quickly, and that's because there's a need. But as I'm getting deeper into this work, I'm starting to even notice, like, I think I'm gonna have to do a revision of the book. I'm gonna have to do a second edition because I'm finding so much else out. But I am not answering your question either. And the model, right, has 7 stages. But what I'm really learning is, I think the two most important stages are, one is the ego wound, and the
Mm-hmm.
other one's around anger and the projection, and how, men were taught now today in society, right? We can't be angry, and anger's scary.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of men that I work with tell me that they just have to hold their anger in, or no one understands their anger, or their anger's not safe. And I'm finding when I work with men, if I get them into their anger, what I call healthy anger, which some
Mm-hmm.
people think that sounds crazy, right? To use those two words together.
Not
But
at
when I talk,
all.
I know, but I think it's one of the most important things, because when you can get past, when you get through your healthy anger, when you can process that, that's when you get to heal,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really discovering that is a big part of this work. And then the other thing, I started doing men's betrayal groups, from the book work. And I'll tell you
Wow.
what's devastating to me, Carol, is I have men, like, I thought it would be mainly guys, like, yeah, the D-Day, the day I found out 2 months ago, a year ago, 6 months ago. I have men, I don't have statistics on this yet, but if I tell you that the average is anywhere from 10 to 15 years ago were their D-Days, and they are just now doing the work. They just now can't hold on to the anger anymore, or how they've played small in their life. And that's hard to hear. Like, that's just painful to me, that so many men are out there struggling for so many years, and they're pretending as if. And
Mm-hmm.
so, that's part of my mission, is to not make this such, how do I call it, like a social stigma, that it doesn't mean you're less than a man. And actually,
Yeah.
some of the statistics I'm seeing, they're actually saying it's leveling out. Like, as many women are cheating now as men are cheating. And a lot of that has to do with just how technology, our society's changed. More women are independent and independently wealthy, and finding their power, or whatever you want to say. And so those statistics are really leveling up. So,
Mm-hmm.
which tells me we have, an equal problem on both sides.
Well, you talk about two important things there. One being that they haven't been able to work on it, and they may have 1, 2, or 3 decades of dealing
Yeah.
with it by themselves. And I am a big believer that anger is positive, and if we can help people to externalize it, it helps them
Yeah.
then go and surrender to what happened to them so that they can move forward into post-traumatic growth. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
all my books are about. And interestingly enough, I don't know if your men are still with the betrayer or not, but I
Yeah. A
find,
lot of them are.
oh, good,
Um,
because I find if the betrayer witnesses the anger in a safe way and even contributes to that by acknowledging it, by validating it, by
yeah.
reassuring them, wow, that is a powerful experience. And um, the betrayed really feels affirmed.
Yeah. But you said something in there that caught my ear, and you used the word surrender. And
Mm-hmm.
that's, for men, that's another, we'll talk a lot of stereotypes here today as we talk about men, but there's a lot of truth in the stereotypes. And a lot of men struggle also with the idea of surrender, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's,
Mm-hmm.
that means I'm giving up. That means I'm not strong, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the other part I teach men, is actually, surrender takes bravery and strength. Surrender means you have the awareness and actually the strength to say, I need help, or this doesn't work, or I can't hold on to this anymore,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So I mean, that's another big part of the stereotype that we have to break through, that surrendering and doing this work is actually really strong. It's really brave, you know.
So I want to ask you if you replace that word with surrender, because I found the same thing to be true, especially for men. If
Hmm.
you use acceptance, does that
Yeah.
resonate a little bit better, or does that still in some ways connote weakness?
And I just use surrender because I want
Okay.
men to, but I like acceptance too, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
I think there's a lot of different ways of going at it. But I tell my guys all the time that I think the bravest, strongest man in the room is the one that's willing to cry and be vulnerable, the one that's willing to show your partner your heart and let them see what happened to it. Those are the things that create healing. Those are the things that are really, I think, like the boldness, hiding out and being in your shame. Like shame, right, is shame's always pretty much unspeakable. And when we can't talk about it, we can't heal it. And that's what I'm seeing with these men. They've held on to shame so long. And when it's done for their self-worth, their self-esteem, and their self-love, it's just chipped it away to where they're just become nothing of a man. And that's not brave either, right? So,
Right.
so yeah,
Okay. So we've
yeah,
determined there really are some differences between men and women and having been betrayed. And you
yeah.
said in your domains of your model, the anger part is tough for them to accept and utilize because it connotes something for them. And I said weakness, but what word would you use?
So you're saying like what in not using their anger?
Mm-hmm.
Is that, I mean, I think men don't use their anger because they're afraid of it.
Mm. Yeah, you said that earlier, and I thought,
Yeah,
wow, you would think men would really be good at using their anger because they've been taught to fight for things.
yeah. But I have so many men that they just tell me, I'm afraid of my anger. I'm afraid of what I might really do or say.
Okay.
Or the ones that did do their anger, it ended up being about their anger and not about their experience or what their partner did. So, it's a catch 22 for men, I think,
Hmm.
really.
And so then the other thing you said, which I know our listening audience wants to know more about, is they may have more difficulty with the ego phase. So would you
Um,
just go through your model, share all the domains, and then let's go back to ego?
yeah, yeah. So of course, I think men and women, my first stage is it's the initial shock and the ego win. Women, everyone's going to have that initial shock, that denial, that spiral, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The second part is self-worth,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because this totally kills your sense of self, questioning
Mm-hmm.
yourself, questioning your worth. Why me? Was I not enough? Did I not do X, Y, Z, right? I'll bounce here real quick. But what what the individual doesn't know when you're betrayed, what you don't know is it actually has less to do with you often and more to do with the person that did the acting out, did the cheating, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's more about their worth than yours. Then the third stage is what I call anger and projection. And then from well, that was a weird accent. And then from there, we go into competitiveness and jealousy. And I know both sexes get into that. Men get really, right? Because like you were alluding to earlier with anger and all that, well, men also get very competitive. I know women do too, right? And this isn't a competition, but I think how men maybe show up in their competitiveness. And I could talk about that later. And then we go into withdrawal and isolation, right? Because then it just becomes so heavy, too much. And that's the part where I think I'm seeing working with these men, right? They've been in withdrawal and isolation for 10, 15 years, can't do it anymore. They're exhausted. And then the sixth phase is the rebuilding, right? That's when we start to break all this down, look at it. So you have that kind of transformation. And then from there, it's positive growth and and your resilience. And then if you've reconciled or you stayed in the marriage and you were alluding to it, I see it all the time. I see couples that really create beautiful, strong, healthy relationships from this. And it's terrible that that has to happen that way, but a lot of things in life, right, come from the darkness or come from tragedy. So those are kind of the seven stages, if you will.
Well, and you are referencing post traumatic growth. And
Yeah,
I'm
totally.
such a proponent of post traumatic growth. I want people to start asking themselves, men or women, you know, do I have a new appreciation for life? Because that's one of the domains. The second one is, do I know my own strength? And am I
Yeah.
able to identify those personality characteristics that are different because of this experience? And then do I have a sense of possibility that I can do something with this? I mean, obviously you did. Um,
Yeah, making something positive out of it. I
mhm.
mean, but not everyone's wired that way. It also took me a long, I mean, I was in it. I did a lot of my own work on it, but 13, 14 years ago when my betrayal experience happened, there was, I mean, I will say the betrayal world maybe wasn't as big as it is today, right? There's so much out there now, and there's so many programs. And I remember when I was Googling for help, just really, there really wasn't that much. There were the few books, but those again, of course, were written in the model that the man was the cheater. So yeah, I was pretty alone in that sense. So yeah.
I've got a post traumatic growth online course. And in that
Well,
course, I have 8 women who talk about how they got there. And then I have a couple and they talk about how they got there. And then I have one man. And I was asking all my clients that were men, past and present day, will you do this? And they went, no, we're not going to put ourselves on an online course. Well,
mm,
the man that said yes was not my client. I totally got that. And I would never want anybody to do anything they didn't want to do.
of course not.
But he said, I'm here. And he was angry. He said, I'm here because there's no flipping resources for me. And I'm an alcoholic in recovery. And I'll tell you what, I have to go to AA to get my help for my partner betrayal. And
Mm,
I said, boy, I remember a day that men got released from the hospital with sex addiction, and they had to get their help from AA too, because there were no Sex Addicts
that's
Anonymous
awesome.
meetings. So I
Yeah.
said, I promise you, hang in there. This will happen for you. And Adam, I mean, you are just an amazing resource for this world. And
Thank
and
you.
and now you and your wife have teamed up
Yeah.
in, and let the world know what she's doing.
Yeah. So she's working actually. One of the things she's really been getting into this year is she's working with actually a lot of the wives of the men that I work with. So the women that are the betrayers, and she loves it. Actually, we probably talk about it too much, but she's so excited about this work and seeing these women in their shame. And that's the other part. You get this dynamic. The man goes into shame, Carol, right? And his ego wound, right? And trying to figure out what his masculinity is. And the woman, she goes into her shame. How can I do this? What kind of person am I? This isn't what women do. And it creates such a huge gap that it makes healing. I find in this work you have to do your own individual healing,
Mm-hmm.
but if you both can also do some of it together, it goes faster.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something about it so much more beautiful when you both are in the mess together and you can see each other messy. and then you can watch each other grow and you get to do it together. I think that's part of the beauty of this work. But yeah, Judith's doing great work, and she's getting ready to start some women's groups and stuff like that. So, and we're even talking about doing some couples retreats stuff where we lead and do small groups and stuff. It's good work. It's it feels good. It's
Mhm.
important work, like you keep saying. And we use your books all the time, of course. So because
Well,
you're like the
I
leader in
just
all this in
happen,
many ways. Yeah, you are.
I
You
just
really.
happen to have my book, uh,
Yeah,
and
let's see
and
it. That's the new one.
and chapter 4 is
Yeah,
about male betrayal. And I was trying to figure out where I should put that, and my inclination was to put it in the back of the book, because I see more women that have been betrayed, and certainly more couples where the woman has been betrayed. And the more I thought about it, I said, I want it in the front of the book. I
yeah,
want to be part of the healing, and I want our couples to talk about that if it's been in their past, you know,
yeah,
and to put it in the back of the book just didn't seem right. So it's chapter 4 in the helping couples heal from infidelity, not sex addiction, but infidelity, and find love again. We certainly know there are a lot of female sex addicts, and that
yeah.
is the world that we are in together professionally. But I branched out to infidelity because the dynamics are a bit different. And I don't want somebody to be labeled a
Yeah,
sex
sex addict.
addict.
Yeah, not everyone who cheats is a sex addict, for
That's
sure.
right. That's right.
Yeah,
So I had that internal struggle, and I'm glad that I went with it. And again, we talk about your model because it is a way to teach clinicians and coaches to theoretically and conceptually look at how men are different than women
yeah,
generally. Yeah.
yeah, big time, for sure.
Uh-huh. And I do want to have your wife on to talk about the work
Yeah,
she's doing.
I know well, you are one of her mentors, so I'm
Mhm.
sure, I'm sure she's waiting. Actually, she knows I'm here today, of course. So yeah.
Well, when I didn't know what platform you were using, I was going to reach out to Judith and go, hey, are you doing Riverside? I might need your help. Because she's got a podcast right now.
Yeah,
And
she actually just launched hers too. So, which is funny. We both, right? Mine's called Men Get Cheated On Too. I forgot the name of my podcast. It's only been 2 months, but yeah, Men Get Cheated On Too. And her podcast she just started is Women Cheat Too.
oh, I like
So
that.
yeah,
Mhm.
so yeah, so right now we're both kind of just doing the same thing where we're just each episode we have a topic and it's just us talking, and they're short. They're like, anywhere from 7 to 10 minutes.
Mhm.
And in the future we'll both have guests and stuff on our podcast. Maybe we'll even have each other. So yeah,
That'd be good.
yeah,
Well, let her know. And for
I'll
you
tell
too.
her.
Yeah, I will definitely
Maybe
want her on.
she'll just watch this episode and she'll find out. That's even better.
That is good.
Yeah, isn't that good?
A
I won't
healthy
tell her.
secret. So, so obviously you wrote the book and
Yeah,
you're creating the groups. Um,
yeah.
Tell us a little bit about where they can find that stuff. And um, you've already told us why you went into it. Tell us what
Mhm.
professionals are saying about this, about your betrayal model.
Yeah, I'll tell you a little bit of all that. So, because of all this work, I kind of separated it from my CSAT, my sex addiction therapy work. So, I have a whole nother website. I have a whole nother, I guess, persona. I call myself the Betrayal Shrink. And so the website's betrayalshrink.com. And then one of the things I've done, I have I have a lot of blog articles and stuff like that. Also on there, I have an assessment that I created that a man can fill out, and it kind of will show him where he is on his betrayal journey, and the emotional impact, if you
Mm-hmm.
will. And
Mm-hmm.
so I have that, and that's a free resource. All the blogs are free resources. My podcast, of course, are on there. And I've created some online courses, mainly around like navigating boundaries and stuff, which people struggle with after betrayal. And another one called The Worthy Wound, helping people find their worth again. So I have all those resources. And I have tons, if you work with me, I have tons of handouts. I'm kind of like you were saying, I'm a creator. So I find people like things they can kind of hold, even though everything's digital, right? But like, do you have something I can read on intrusive thoughts? Do you have something on boundaries? So I'm kind of always creating like that in ways that people can understand and help them navigate something that's, it's hard to comprehend things when you're in trauma, right? When you're
Mm-hmm.
spiraling. So I really try to simplify things and stuff for people to use. And then in the therapy world, I'm it's great because therapists are being really receptive. Um, I'm getting a lot of emails from other therapists. I'm helping therapists with resources. Actually, I just did something with ITAP, which is part of the CSAT, talking about this with other therapists, which was
Right.
great. Yeah, which was good because that therapists need to have this conversation. Therapists need to know that the way men navigate this situation is so different. And so I'm really working on that. And actually, another way you inspired me, you don't know this yet, but I'm actually working on a model to teach therapists how to do this work. And I have a therapist friend of mine. His name's Trevor Hardcastle. He's a EMDR supervisor and trainer, and we're creating EMDR models because there actually are no EMDR models around this either. And so we're trying to create a certification, hopefully maybe sometime by next year, because I think it's
Ah.
important that therapists need to know how to do this work, need to know how to talk to men and connect with men. So,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I got a lot happening for sure, but
You
it's
really
important.
do. Whew.
Yeah, but you do too. I know how busy you are too. It's
Well, and
but like that.
I'm leaning into retirement.
Yeah, I know. Sure you are. Sure you
Yeah,
are. Me
I
too, right?
know. Right.
No, but it's like I tell Judith all the time. It's like, oh, I don't have enough time in the day, and I have so much I need to do. But what she reminds me, it's not what I need to do, it's what I want to do, right? And it's
Mhm.
because I just have so many ideas, and I want to get this out there, and I want to grow this, and I want men to feel safe. I want men to heal. I want women to heal. I want couples to heal because
Uh-huh.
this stuff's so toxic and it gets passed on. Like I have so many guys I work with that, like, yeah, my dad cheated or this, right? And they witnessed it, and they never quite understood the impact of holding on to what they witnessed growing up. So
Well,
yeah,
I had the early recovery couples empathy model, and
yeah,
that's IRCM. And you need to come and at least get trained, if not certified,
I
because then
know. In my free time,
I'll let you use that stuff for your model.
yeah. Well,
I'm
we
all
should
about
talk.
abundance.
We can talk offline about that. How about that?
That's a deal. Absolutely.
Okay,
But
good.
I'm just saying, I follow what Judith's model is, the multidimensional partner trauma
Yeah,
model, but I changed it for couples. And I find that when you help couples to feel safe, and in your case, it probably isn't safe, is you help the male in the coupleship get honest about how they've been affected and get to know themselves better,
more. Yeah, for
which
sure.
brings a whole new level of depth and reflection and introspection. And then if they do that anger, grief, mourning, and loss work of what that meant, and as you said, with an extra level of what does it mean to deal with it now when it's been locked up for so many years?
Yeah, yeah.
Then they get over to post-traumatic growth, or as Apsatz calls it, restoration of self,
Restoration. Yeah.
and
Yeah, go ahead. I was gonna
and the coupleship. That's what and
yeah.
sometimes even their sense of the world, because when something like this has happened, it can really shake up a person's sense of, why did this happen to me? Why did God do this to me? Why me?
I get a
And
lot of why me's. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So why not you? Like
Hmm.
there's something there. Like that's the other part of this work I love is not only do you get to heal, hopefully, from the betrayal, but the
Hmm.
growth that you get to have and you get to learn. And as much as the work's about the betrayal, so much of it's not about the betrayal,
Hmm.
And I think, you know, to use a stereotype, men aren't always big on therapy and going to therapy. I can't tell you how many guys I work with. Oh, my wife said I have to do this, right? And I always tell
Hmm.
them, well, if that's the case, I don't know if this is going to work for you. You have to want to do it. But then after they get into it, they shift. Like, this is great, or wow, I'm learning so much, or I didn't realize I did that. And that's the beautiful thing about getting cracked open is you get to see parts of you that you didn't know existed. You get to see parts of you that have been hiding in the shadows,
Hmm.
and that those parts need to be seen. Those parts need to be loved and accepted. And those are the parts you heal. You, even if you're the betrayed, like I tell guys, like you didn't do the action, but you have a part in it, right? You didn't, your partner made the choice, but you get to learn to be different and show up different in the relationship. So maybe those things don't ever happen again. Or if you see them happening, you have the ability to say, hey, something isn't right, or I'm not happy, or this isn't working for me. Because so many people that are the betrayed, they know. Often they see it. Very few are totally in the dark, right? Usually I had a gut feeling, or I saw a couple things, or I ignored it, or we drifted apart, right? You hear all these stories, right, Carol, all the time.
Hmm.
And I'm like, if you're aware, if you love yourself, if you understand boundaries and all that, that stuff will never happen again because you'll stop it. You'll leave. You'll ask for what you want and need. You know your
Hmm.
worth. I can go
Hmm.
on, but yeah, that's the beauty of this work for sure.
Well, I am so thankful for you. I'm so thankful for your
Thank you.
creativity, and you've got the perfect setup to do couples work at some point.
Yeah, we will.
One step at a time, right?
Yeah, we will. It's going to
Yeah.
happen. It's already in discussion. So yeah,
Well, thank you so much for being my first guest on this platform.
it's my
And
honor.
yeah, absolutely. And is there anything else you want to say before we end?
Um, Man, putting me on the spot. I mean, I would just say to anyone that's been betrayed, don't do it alone. Seek
Hmm.
help. Like
Hmm.
in the things that you're thinking and feeling and experiencing, you're not crazy. You're not the only one. There's trained professionals out there that can help you navigate this.
Hmm.
And there is light at the end of that tunnel. I'm proof of that. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Adam Nisenson, thanks so much. Everybody go out and get his book. Where can they find your book? Because I know we share the same publisher.
Yeah, I don't, Carol, where does everybody get a book today? On Amazon. But here,
Yeah.
I'll do shameless plug one more time.
Yeah. The Man's Guide to Partner
On the
Betrayal.
betrayal. Yeah.
Thank you, Adam. It's been a
Thanks, Carol.
pleasure.
Good hanging and seeing you. It's been a while.
It has.
All
We'll talk
right.
soon.
You got it. Thanks.